It's Red Eye Radio. Gary McNamara and Eric Harley talk about everything from politics to social issues and news of the day. Whether you're up late or you're just starting your day, welcome to the show. From the Uniden America Studios, this is Red Eye Radio.
All across America and around the world, we are Red Eye Radio. He is Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. We have had a feisty and fun show today, and we have also been put in a little bit of disbelief because I want to play this audio cut here. Here's what we've heard over the last couple of years from the Biden administration.
It is my testimony that the border is secure.
The president have worked very hard to implement a strategy when it comes to the border that is humane, safe, and has orderly enforcement.
Things are going at the border, sir.
Much better than you all expected.
We have a secure border in that is a priority for any nation, including ours and our administration.
We have responded with a model approach that has proven to work.
We have taken unprecedented action over the past year and a half to secure our border.
And we have a process in place to manage migrants at the border. We're working to make sure it's safe and orderly and humane.
The border is closed.
We agree that the border is secure.
We're executing a comprehensive strategy to secure our borders.
One of our highest priorities is to ensure that we have a secure border.
Well, breaking news last night as the storm clouds were moving into Texas, and I got up early to beat the storms into work. And when I woke up, I looked at my phone, and I saw, what? Biden's going to build a wall? And the situation is acute and serious, and there's an immediate need to waive all environmental regulations, the Clean Water Act, the Clean Air Act, the Endangered Species Act. All of these must be waived in order to build a wall in Texas.
Listen to this line from the Associated Press. Valerie Gonzalez writes this for AP out of McAllen, Texas. The Biden administration announced it waived 26 federal laws in South Texas to allow border wall construction on Wednesday, marking the administration's first use of a sweeping executive power employed often during the Trump presidency. Whoa! Man, there's a lot to unpack from that one sentence. Holy cow, that's the Associated Press writing that. So, sorry, climate change activists. Biden needs to build a wall.
And I'm looking here. I do not see it. Because as soon as I saw this, I said, how's the mainstream media going to cover this one?
Right.
Biden wants to build a wall. I think it's a 20-mile wall that he wants to at least start off with.
Right.
And it's so urgent that we get this wall. And remember, the whole concept of the wall, according to Democrats and the media, could never work. And it was only the act of a xenophobe and a racist who would build a wall to keep people out.
Uh-huh.
So we were thinking, all right, so by the Democrat standard, and this is why I can't find it on it's not on the front page of the CNN website. Let me just quickly check MSNBC as I continue to talk here because it was not on MSNBC earlier either. It did not appear anywhere on the front page. As I scan here, I don't see it again here on MSNBC because how do they cover it? Because these are the people in the media that were calling it the act of a xenophobe and a racist. Right. And now, according to the Democrat standard, the xenophobic and racist president is going to destroy the planet to build a wall.
Right. Hey, what's the over-under on how many of the mainstream media, if they ever do cover this, use the word barrier and not wall?
Wall, I know.
I want to get in on that bet.
I'm going through. I'm scanning down here on MSNBC to see if they're covering it at all. I don't think they know what to do with it.
I don't think they do, because first of all, the first thing I would want to double check Here's the thing. This did not come from the president or Mayorkas stepping up to a podium and making the announcement. They just lobbed this massive fireball into the sky in the late evening hours. This is just hours old. Well, what does that tell you? Well, they didn't want much attention. They certainly didn't. Nobody wanted to be standing at a podium and making this announcement, but it's desperation on the administration's part, and there's no doubt in my mind about that. This is desperation. You're waiving environmental laws to build a wall in Texas.
And waiving the Clean Air Act, the Clean Water Act, and the Endangered Species Act.
We may not have drinkable water in Texas because of Joe Biden.
The Rio Grande is going to boil.
Exactly. We're just using their tactic.
Yeah, yes, this is again, we didn't come up with this. They're the ones that came up with all of this.
I won't be able to breathe or drink water.
And just think of the migrants that attempt to cross, they'll be boiling in the Rio Grande.
Because the earth temperatures will be so hot.
Yes. Because the Biden administration doesn't care about clean water, clean air.
They need to build a wall. Wow.
It's, just saying this, it's like everybody knows we're being sarcastic, but it just sounds so stupid. Could you imagine saying it seriously?
It is.
The water in the Rio Grande's going to boil. It's like, but somebody would say that on the Democrat side. I mean, it's because they're just insane. The oceans are going to boil. I mean, Obama said that, remember?
Yeah.
The oceans are going to boil. No, they're not. The oceans are not getting up to 212 degrees.
I mean,
Democrats, you say this stuff all the time. Do you feel real stupid saying it?
The Biden administration just a few months ago sued Governor Abbott and the state of Texas because of the barrier, the Rio Grande barrier.
Yeah.
Why? Was it getting in the way of your wall building? Sorry, dude. We didn't know this was your construction zone.
Okay, I get it.
Wow.
I have to check Governor Abbott Twitter. I didn't even think about this.
Yeah.
I know that they were talking about it yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
They were talking about the part of the wall that they're still building. I saw a tweet on that one, but that was before this announcement.
Mm-hmm.
No, nothing here. No, because it's the flash flooding.
Yeah.
Is the latest because we've had
Right.
we had some real bad storms. I woke up and I knew because we knew the storms were coming in.
Mm-hmm.
And so I woke up at 8:30 and looked at it and went, oh, man. I jumped to the shower and I, got out of the house because I knew it was going to be 3 or 4 hours. And they were talking, 1, 2, 3 inches of rain. And I'm like, I need to get to work before all that.
You didn't want to be driving in that.
I didn't want, no, just didn't want to. And they said the winds could pick up. Well, when I got here is when all these messages, and it's my neighborhood group text. And they're like, tornado warning, it's right over the neighborhood.
Wow.
And you could see, and I could see the what do they call it? The bow or whatever they call it.
Yeah.
They call it the bow.
The bow echo.
Yeah, the bow echo, right just starting to develop. And then right after my neighborhood, it fully developed and was heading to the town of Midlothian. I didn't see whether, which is only about 6 miles from where I live. And it was, but it was right around my lake and everything. And you could see it. I mean, it was really serious. I'm like,
well-defined on radar.
Well-defined on radar.
Yeah.
And so immediately I'm checking all the cameras at my house.
Sure. Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, everything is, lights are still on. Everything was fine. And, it's the cat walking around. So apparently, but we got a ton of rain. But yeah, that's when I saw it on my phone and went, is this a Babylon Bee? What do you mean? And I didn't read it till I got to work. And I'm stopping at stoplights, trying to put it in my reading glasses, trying to look at doing everything you're not supposed to do when you're driving, going, this can't be possible. and it's Mayorkas, and it's talking about the problem is acute, and immediately we need to waive all these. I'm waiving all these laws right now because we've got to build the wall now.
Right?
It's like this is most bizarre thing ever.
No, it is, and there's the thing is, it was boiling to this point because we saw it. Hochul in recent days before walking it back. Don't bring us you're tired or you're weak, because we're tired and weak. And we don't need any huddled masses.
Speaking of weak need.
Yeah. And then of course Mayor Adams he's in Mexico. Mayorkas is in Mexico.
For the discouragement tour.
They're calling Mayor Adams his trip, they're calling it the discouragement tour.
New York Post.
The first thing he's going to scream is, Frank Sinatra was a liar.
Don't come to New York, New York.
It's a horrible city.
We only want people from Florida to come to New York.
You know,
remember the billboards?
I would say this. You know where there's plenty of room. In fact, there's more room every day, and that's San Francisco. That's where you should be going. There are a lot of vacancies in San Francisco. And by the time you get there, there will be a lot more. But you see this desperation, and it's been rising. The Democrats, even Bill Clinton woke up long enough to say something about it.
I can't wait to see the spin of the media on this. They've got to cover it.
Well, and that's it, because I didn't expect this move. I expected something like, well, somebody from the administration, they would, appoint. Oh, wait, he already did. A border czar. She's also called the vice president. He has a border czar. Remember her? Something of, okay, we're all going to get together in a room. We're going to have a discussion, and we're going to work with our friends across the aisle, and blah, 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 blah. Boom. But waking up to Mayorkas just landed in Mexico City and wants to build a wall yesterday and wants to do away with the stupid environmental laws that get in the way of building Mayorkas' wall. The same Mayorkas that said the border is secure.
Right. These laws to save the planet and keep the Rio Grande and the oceans from boiling. We're throwing out the window so we can be racist and xenophobes too. By their standard. I want to make this clear. We're not making that accusation. That's the accusation they made against Trump when he wanted to build the wall.
Mayorkas' America is great again. The new MAGA. It is, I'm telling you, it just feels like somebody has slipped a drug into my water or something when you think about how bizarre this entire event is. I don't know where you go. Karine Jean-Pierre, how do you answer the questions today? I know what she's going to say. But that's under the Department of Homeland Security. I defer to them.
Or no, we're using all the tools possible, including a Trump tool, because Biden, your boss said he would never build 1 foot more of a wall.
Right.
It was done. It would never happen during
he's the
his
guy. Is he
administration.
not the guy?
But it's just, and the Trump campaign, I mean, and this has got to be killing the media. Be interesting.
Oh, my God.
Be interesting to see what the first story is on MSNBC or CNN on it. But when I saw it, I went, well, I'm like, is this to get the mainstream media to cover it? Because when the campaign came out and said, see, Donald Trump is always right.
Yeah, right.
I mean, that's just massive trolling. It's like, wow, okay, that's going to get the mainstream media to cover, and they still haven't, they don't see it yet.
And the environmental activists are screaming, how could they do this? They don't care about the air, the water, the environment. And so how does an MSNBC ignore that part of it?
Yeah, because that seemed to be the emphasis of the actual statement and announcement.
No,
that was it. It wasn't okay, you guys are interpreting it in your own way.
No.
We got that straight from the statement, which was saying we're going to waive all these laws, the Clean Air Act, this, and this.
That's the AP headline. The AP headline is this: Biden administration waives 26 federal laws to allow border wall construction in South Texas.
That's the Associated Press?
That's the AP's headline. So if you're MSNBC, the activists are, knocking on your door saying, hey, something needs to be done about this administration. They can't just walk in Trump style and waive 26 federal laws and regulations to build a border wall. You can't do that. So that has to be their angle.
They'll attempt to justify it somehow. And that's why I'm looking forward to the spin. They cannot win in the arena of ideas because this is going to be mocked big time.
Oh, my gosh.
It's going to be mocked like you can't believe today.
How did this happen, though?
You and I having that discussion. What was it that set this off where Mayorkas had to announce it? Not even the White House, but Mayorkas announced it. It wasn't the president coming out and stating, look, this is serious down here, whatever.
Right.
But Mayorkas to do it, even because Mayorkas, how many times did he say the border is secure, the border is secure, the border is secure? And I said it roughly at 8 o'clock, this came out, this statement came out. At 7:59:59, the official position of the White House on the border was it's secure.
Yeah.
A second later, it's, oh, my God, all hell is broken loose. We need immediate action. We've got to waive all environmental laws. We've got to build this wall. We got to get this wall built now.
And the ABC story about the rise, the new surge of migrants in New York City. Now they're saying it's at a rate of over 600 per day, every day in New York City.
4,200 a week. That's you're closing in on $250,000, and if it keeps increasing, $250,000.
And how is it not going to increase?
Wow.
You know what you need to do? Build a wall.
I just wonder to be a fly in the wall in the White House to see how this came down would be fascinating.
I would love to know.
Did somebody stand up and say we can't build a wall and waive environmental things? We'll get killed. No, we'll find a way for the media to spin it. They'll write it however we want. Mm-hmm. But you can't spin this.
You can't.
You can try.
Yeah,
I don't believe you can succeed.
You can't.
866-90 Red Eye.
This morning's USDA Farm Report is brought to you by Howes Products. Tested, trusted, guaranteed since 1920.
During the 90s and early 2000s, the world's farmers were able to boost TFP productivity. That's productivity from things other than expanding acreage. They were able to expand it by a pretty good 1.7% average yearly rate. But a new report says,
unfortunately, during 2011 to 2021, average annual global TFP growth fell to 1.14%, ending 2 decades of robust growth and falling well below our gap index target.
The report's editor, Dr. Tom Thompson with Virginia Tech University, says this decline is not just happening in the developing world. In fact,
average TFP growth in the United States has dropped markedly from 1.49% annually during the 1990s to slightly negative during 2011 to 2021.
No growth at all. So Thompson says that while boosting food production in developing countries is a priority, there's no doubt that productivity growth
must be revitalized in the United States.
This is Gary Crawford reporting for the U.S. Department of Agriculture.
This report brought to you by Cenex Fuels and Lubes.
Lines open for your calls. 866-90 Red Eye on Red Eye Radio.
It's Red Eye Radio. Coming up next, you're not going to believe what we have on the Biden wall. There's something else on the Biden wall that you've got to hear next.
Yep.
the fourth branch of government. Eric Harley and Gary McNamara on Red Eye Radio.
And he's Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Wow. All right, now, as we told you, the breaking news that came out last night, the Biden administration is going to build a wall. Biden's wall. 20-mile section, and this is so urgent that they build a wall that Mayorkas has waived 26 different laws, including laws in the Clean Water Act, the Clean Air Act, and the Endangered Species Act, in order to build a wall because the problem is so acute that we need a wall right now. We can't wait any longer. And so you sit there and there's a bunch of different things you say to yourself, well, wait a minute here. You had this Biden guy who went after Trump when Trump wanted to build a wall, and the Democrats saying he's a xenophobe and all this. And well, is Biden a xenophobe? Is Biden racist? Is Biden a xenophobe and racist? And in order to get to that point, he needs to destroy the planet, too, by waiving all of these environmental rules that will keep the Rio Grande from boiling. Now, when you think of all those things, then the next thing is, and it's one of the first things one of our listeners emailed me on earlier, and I didn't know it, but Eric found out, where is the money coming from to build Biden's wall? And I'm telling you, it can't get any better than this.
Funds from a congressional appropriation in 2019 for border wall construction. Trump-era money is going to fund the wall.
Trump border wall funding is going to fund Biden's border wall. Am I correct on that?
Absolutely correct.
All right.
Well, that is just rich.
I know.
I don't even know. If you would have said yesterday at the end of the show, hey, tomorrow at this time, we're going to be talking about how Biden is building a wall, throwing aside environmental laws and regulations to do it, and he's going to use Trump border wall money to get it done. I would have told you to give me your keys. You're not driving anywhere.
that if I told you that, I'm the one that's high.
You must be smoking and or drinking something. Wow.
Very close to that Bills fan in the porta potty.
I was going to say, don't have any thoughts about going to a Bills game anytime soon. You're not fit,
or if
mister.
I do, lock all the porta potties.
My gosh. If anybody had said that out loud, I would have thought, man, this person needs help.
So, how did this happen?
I've got to know.
I
got to know because you hear the voices we've heard. Mayor Adams, Mayor Adams, Mayor Adams, Mayor Adams, and Mayor Adams. There's your top five voices. Then Governor Hochul before she walked it back recently. But we always say, look at the original statement, and that's how they really feel. And so we go on that. Bill Clinton basically saying the border's broken and it's got to be fixed. You've got a number of Democrats who have been vocal in recent days. Then you look at how it went down. This was not Mayorkas stepping up to the podium in the middle of the day, first thing in the morning, with the media present, making an announcement as they often do. Cabinet members will often do that. Presidents will do it. We'd like to announce that. That's not how it happened. This fireball was lobbed into the sky late evening last night. it tells me that it's an act of desperation to do something. And that, too, they think it's, I don't know, they think it's going to work. Politically, how do you, because if I'm inside the walls at the White House, advising a liberal administration on a move like this, I'm going, no. Because there's no way you're going to have to build a wall around the press secretary, because you're not going to be able to field all the questions coming in on something like this. Again, from the liberals and from the environmental activists, you're doing what? You're setting aside environmental law and regulation in order to build a wall? Yeah, with Trump money. With Trump money?
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing when you think about it. Which advisor? Because I don't believe Biden came up with this.
I don't think
Biden
I don't think Mayorkas came up with it.
No, neither do I. Somebody came up with it. Because could you imagine? Because we say, when we've often said this before, all these things, when these decisions come, are in a meeting, there's a bunch of people. So somebody eventually had to say, okay, so here's the plan. Here's the final plan, and the president's sitting there. We're going to build a border wall. We're going to waive the Clean Air Act, the Clean Water Act, the Endangered Species Act to build this wall to keep migrants out and illegal immigrants out.
Yeah.
And we're going to use Trump border wall money to do it. Who's in favor?
Right.
How did they get Biden to approve it unless the pressure from inside the Democratic Party is so great right now that they're fearing? Because one of the things was that, and I forgot who wrote it, said, look, Biden doesn't care if there's a million migrants in New York City. They're going to vote for him.
Right.
New York's going to vote for him. If you've got 1 million in Chicago, it doesn't matter.
He's going to win Chicago.
He's going to win Chicago.
He's going to win Illinois.
Is there indication in the polls that they may not?
Ooh.
Remember how close. Remember how
Here's
close the governor's race was in New York.
Right.
Does something like this put it over the edge? Where because the quality of life is so bad. One of the things I've seen local news reporters. This is coming up more on X, formerly known as Twitter, of just talking to people local on the street saying, "We stay home. We stay home. We stay home." And I was driving. I went to see a friend of mine yesterday. As I'm driving, I thought to myself, I can only imagine just leaving my house and being afraid to leave my house. What it's like every day, if that's what you're going through in cities right now. That you're afraid to leave the house.
Yeah.
You're afraid. And it's just like...
Well, let me ask you. New York has a neighboring state that has been a huge battleground and was, in fact, in 2016 when Trump took it, and that's Pennsylvania. Story hit yesterday. It's going to be an all-out WWE cage match battle between Biden and Trump for Pennsylvania. So what else do they see, to your point? What are they seeing in the erosion of also Democrats that are motivated, really motivated to go for them, to support them, to get out and actually vote for them? Is there an erosion in those numbers? We've seen it. Where do we see it? We see it with minorities. We see it. Young people are not into Biden. And you need that. The Democrats need that young energy.
You know, we talk about the whole McCarthy thing and, you know, whether it was the right thing to do or the wrong thing to do. And we've had some pretty feisty discussions on it over the last couple of days. And the one thing that you look at it, and we've had a couple of people, I think they were probably a lot younger than I am.
Yeah.
And probably you are, that called. And saying they're saying you don't understand what we're fighting for as Republicans. It's like, yeah, we're completely clueless. We have no idea because we're on the radio, and therefore we're very far separated from what real people are worried about. And that could not be further from the truth because we've been fighting for it for decades upon decades upon decades. But do they really understand how bad the situation the Democrats are in? If you've only been involved in politics for 5 or 10 years, I've been involved in politics, 40 years now. 40 years I've been covering it. It's never been like this. There's never been a political party that's taken such radical positions. And that's the reason I thought, the main reason I thought, if you want to give, I don't care whether McCarthy was the speaker or whatever. I mean, someone else could replace him. I care about the policy and pushing things forward and winning in 2024 because that's the big prize. Democrats are so insane. Can you hold on to the House and Senate and maybe even the presidency for 8 years, which would be that would be my goal. That is what I want. And I've never seen it ever where it's so insane, where now they're trying to back off, but they can't back off on so many things. And if he builds this 20-mile border wall that's done in what, a year? They're not going to be crossing in other sections? Of course they are.
Yeah.
But
it's not going to stop. It's not going to stop the flow of people.
But it's such an act of desperation that are they seeing it internally in their polls? Because I have never in covering, politics and paying attention to politics for almost 50 years, but covering it for 40.
Yeah.
Even when I wasn't a talk show host.
Right.
I was over a news department and stuff like that. So I've been covering it for basically 40 years. Never seen a political party, but the difference is everything that they promoted hit reality.
Quinnipiac poll for Pennsylvania. Registered voters in Pennsylvania right now, 47 for Trump, 45 for Biden. Yeah. The kid from Scranton.
Yeah. And there's 13 months of this left.
And the same poll has Bob Casey in the Senate race leading the likely Republican challenger, Dave McCormick, by 6 points, 50-44. Now, that's a different type of race. Bob Casey, in this case, has name recognition, but and also, Dave McCormick, it's not, they say likely. That's not a race set in stone as close as the other one is. The other one isn't either technically, but really those are the two. And so the question is, if you see that erosion in Pennsylvania, in 2016, you and I were two of the very few people saying, you got to watch Pennsylvania. And Trump ended up winning Pennsylvania. Mm-hmm. Hillary Clinton's campaign and their internals clearly showed a massive problem in Pennsylvania at that time, along with other states like Michigan and Wisconsin.
Well, they saw the turn, 3 to 4 weeks?
Yeah.
The normal polls didn't show it. Their internal polls, they were worried 3 to 4 weeks out that they were going to lose.
Yep. And
if you remember that's what the timeline was, I believe.
Right. And
3 to 4 weeks. So they knew. And so their internal polls at times will send them in a direction. But something happened here. What advisor?
There was something.
What advisor? Who was it that went to the president and said, you've got to do this? Because, like I said, so far, all the conservative media is all over it.
Right.
Everybody's covered it like, whoa. And MSNBC, CNN, not on the front page as of 10 minutes ago when I last checked. Nowhere. On 100 stories that they have on the front page of their website, nothing about the border wall, nothing about using Trump border money, nothing about just waiving all these environmental laws.
Right.
Nothing about the Biden wall. They don't know how to write it. Associated Press did, though, didn't they?
They did.
Because they know about it. CNN, MSNBC knows about it because they carry Associated Press like everybody does.
Well, and that's it. And there's the thing. The first thing I would do if I were a liberal reporter, I'd be wanting to make sure that this is accurate and someone didn't hack the Department of Homeland Security's office and website and put something fake out there.
But if that happened today, if they found out, look, somebody hacked into it, I go, oh, okay, now it makes sense. Yeah,
that makes sense.
That makes sense. Yeah.
No more questions.
866-90-RED-EYE.
Get in touch with Red Eye Radio, toll free at 866-90-RED-EYE.
It's Red Eye Radio. He's Eric. I'm Gary. So I'm looking here, and MSNBC still does not have the Biden border wall story. CNN does not. ABC did. ABC had the reprint of the Associated Press story in small print, but you saw it. Biden administration waives 26 laws to build border wall. Wow. And I'm looking at NBC right now. I'm scanning it and don't see it here yet. So it'd be interesting to see how they cover it or what kind of, if anybody writes an editorial on it or an op-ed.
Yeah. I can't wait. It will be interesting to watch.
I know.
This is Red Eye Radio on Westwood.